Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Dubious from Arcane Wonders. Dubious is a 3 to 6 player hidden role deduction game, and it's really pronounced Dubious over here. Dubious is the name of the game. The first time I saw it, I just combined with the cover and the name. I just said Dubious and then proceeded to say on camera that I'll be playing Dubious, and people corrected me. I mean, I figured it out first, but it was already on camera at that point, so I figured I may as well lean into it. Dubious. Plus, it's cooler to call it Dubious. It's like, feels like more, I don't know, Dubois, the investigator. Investigator Dubois. I'm gonna move on. Dubious from Arcane Wonders. This is a 3 to 6 player game of trying to figure out what other players are while trying to, in some way, give information about what you are to the other players. The basic idea of the game is you're going to choose a theme. There are 3 different themes to pick from. There's medieval, there's medieval, more Renaissance or whatnot, and then also modern as well. For the sake of this playthrough over here, for the sake of this teach, we're going to go through the medieval. We're going to grab these cards over here. And players are going to be assigned 2 secret cards from each of these over here. So you're going to have a secret, and you're going to have an occupation. I'm going to look at mine over here, and I have the blacksmith or the dragon rider, and I'm going to choose to be, you know what, actually? I'm actually going to take a step back. For the sake of teaching this game, I am not going to show you what I am. I'm going to do this so you can play along with me as we go through it. I'll play through a full, slightly different than the actual game because you won't be doing your answers, but I'll play through the general gameplay feel of it. So I'm going to have 2 characters over here. I'm going to pick one, and then we're going to walk through things. So I am looking at my characters. Excellent. I've chosen one. I've chosen it. Okay, we're going to return this back to the pile over here. And then I'm going to look through my secret over here. And we have... I like it. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and return this secret over here. And I'm going to do this. So I have my secret and my occupation, and we're going to go ahead and show this way. You can, if you want, you can pause this or get a screenshot or whatever, or I'll just keep coming back to it as we go. But there are the possible occupations. We have Executioner, Bard, Guard, War Mage, Dragon Rider, Herald, Stableman, Inquisitor, Druid, Innkeeper, Blacksmith, Berserker, Rogue, and Necromancer. I assume you have that all down. Perfect, great. Next. Secrets: came back from the dead, turned their brother into a sheep, found a genie's lamp, hunts werewolves, convinced that magic doesn't exist, possessed by a demon, won a jousting tournament, came from another world, convinced that their neighbor's a vampire, killed a tax collector, purchased a cursed sword, the Dark Lord's henchman, likes to sleep in a coffin, and looking for a sacrificial victim. Once again, just a quick, here you go, screenshot that so you can take a look, and now I'll start answering questions. Because now, you're going to select 5 questions from a pool of questions. You don't select them, they're randomly chosen, and we're going to go through some questions. Some are more focused on your visual appearance, some more focused on your secret, but you can choose to answer them how you want. But before we start answering, here's the intent, here's the goal. I will get a point if someone guesses what I am. But I'll get no points if everyone guesses what I am, or if no one guesses what I am. This is a system that's familiar to Dixit. If you play Dixit, similar idea. But basically, if I'm too obvious, then that's a problem. If I am too subtle, that's a problem. Meanwhile, on the guesser side, you get a point for every correct guess. So the guessers are incentivized to guess right because they get a point. The clue giver is incentivized to be vague enough but clever enough that they can kind of give information but not be so obvious. And so let's go ahead and do so. Let's start answering some questions. The first question we have is, what are you wearing? That's clearly very visually focused. As far as what I'm wearing a smock. Things get dirty where I work, and it helps to just not have things splashing all over me. Okay, that's my answer there. Boom. As far as the next question, and start taking notes on these. I got all the answers. We'll go through this. What was the last book you read? Oh, you know what? Let's take I'll let you do your own thing. What was the last book you read? Well, the last book I read was, it was about the mystic arts and how to avoid their how to deal with the mystical. And the last book I read was How to Deal with the Mystical, and I also that's it, How to Deal with the Mystical. Okay, let's go with that. How to Deal with the Mystical. That was the name of the book. Where would you like to go right now? Well, it's nighttime, so outside, obviously. Okay. What first impression do you give? Now, by the way, you can lean into this however hard you want. So, for example, I'm actually going to change my answer to the last one. Where would you like to go right now? Well, it's the night, which is when I'm busiest, but the problem is juggling my job and all my other obligations. That's a lot of work for me sometimes. Okay, see what I did there? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. What first impression do you give? People like talking to me. They like telling me their secrets. Unless you have a certain kind of secret, then you probably shouldn't tell me that. You might come to regret that. What did you notice on your way here? I'm not entirely sure. The moon, probably. Okay, those are my answers. Now let's go through it. Now, you can pause, you can take a look. Here's my thing over here. This is what we got. Now, ideally, some of you guessed what I am, some of you did not. For the record, my secret was that I am an innkeeper. Now, I made references to those in different ways. I'm more active at night, which some of these roles might be. A necromancer might also be, but I'm trying to juggle different things. I'm wearing a smock, so, people don't splash things all over me, which could be because of the liquids at the bar. Could also be because of the blood of whatever. So it could be the executioner just as well, wearing a smock so things don't splash over them. So you want some people to guess it, some not. Meanwhile, my secret is that I hunt werewolves. Juggling my nighttime job with my obligations, people telling me their secrets, but also the fact that whatever secrets they tell me, if you have a certain kind of secret, you might regret it, because if you tell me you're a werewolf, I'm going to hunt you down and kill you. So that's my secret and my occupation. Now, when you're actually playing the game, you're going to be recording your answers as you play on this pad. Players are going to be recording their answers and other players' answers and trying to go through it at the end to try to piece everything together. You said this to that question, you said this to that question, and then everyone's submitting their answers at the same time so as not to bias other players, because also, you do have the additional information when you're playing of what two roles not. Meaning, for a fact that of the 14 roles, 2 of them, one of them you are, the other one you've seen and put back in the deck, and then other ones you might have a sense, you might think that maybe I'm the executioner, but maybe they also give answers that lead you to think they're the executioner, and so if you were torn between me being the executioner and the innkeeper, maybe you go with the innkeeper because the other person kept on talking about how they kill people. So it could be different things like that, but you have a lot more information. This is kind of a general overview of how it will actually play. So again, you ask 5 questions, people record their answers, at the end everyone guesses, and you score based on the system I told you. A point for every correct guess of each, your occupation and your secret, and then 0 points for each one. So as the clue giver, as a person answering, I can get 2 points. If not everyone, but at least one person guesses my occupation, I get a point, and same with my secret. Meanwhile, every correct guess you give as a giver, as a guesser, is worth a point as well. Past that, there are other themes over here. We have a more modern theme over here, and the art over here is great over here. We have more, I post cute videos, I'm being blackmailed, I believe in conspiracy theories, I'm a gang member, allergic to pets, I'm drowning in debt, I'm an internet troll, I'm a shopaholic, I have multiple children, I do illegal graffiti, and then we have hairstylist, graphic designer, electrician, influencer, taxi driver, fitness instructor, etc. And then for the more Renaissance whatever theme, I'm a teetotaler. I'm flea infested, absent-minded, hold spiritual seances. I'm a counterfeiter. I have exotic illness over here. I'm a private investigator. I'm a baker. I'm an admiral, explorer, magician, mailman, chemist. All of this stuff over here as far as these different roles. And that is basically what's going on in Dubious. I refuse to say Dubois. I was tempted to. I chose not to. Anyways, let's dive into the actual review. That's basically the game. He plays that 3 to 6 players. You need at least 3 people because just math. And then from there, the more players, the better. Ease of play. The game is going to play depending on how you want to approach it as far as how long you actually play the experience. You can play this in a single round at a time for around 20 minutes a round, or you can play it for, hours straight, depending on how you want to approach it. Past that, as far as, I covered game time, and as far as ease of play, very short rulebook. Very easy to dive into and get up and running. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, which is this is a good combination of prompts and imagination that really lean almost into almost an RPG style setting. Like, I am not someone who likes to get heavily into this stuff, but I found the game did a good job of giving you something going on as far as who I am. I'm an innkeeper who hunts werewolves. All of that was on the spot. Like, all of that was me just trying to, come up with things on the way to match the questions and to try to lean into the role. So I'm not just saying, hey, I'm an innkeeper who hunts werewolves, because that would involve other players guessing, everyone getting points and me getting nothing. Rather, I want to be just vague enough that not everyone will guess it, but also clever enough that some people will. And so leaning into the role-telling elements. Maybe I'm a hairstylist who is a political activist, and you say, what was the last book you read? And I answer, I don't know, what's a hairstylist and a political activist? The last book I read was probably on, what's the, oh my gosh, what's that type of hair? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting it. I had a clever title for a book. Oh, this is dark, but I changed my mind on the answer. I'm a hairstylist who's also a political activist. And the book I read most recently was Toupees, How They're Bad for Everyone. Okay, so you can lean into this in whatever clever ways you want in terms of giving you all kinds of subtle, different answers that lean into one of your aspects or the other, or tie them together. It leans into the RPG element. It lets you use your imagination, but it gives you enough prompts, both visual and just written prompts, that you can lean into all of that. I like the mix of roleplay and gameplay here. The fact that there are multiple themes to dive into means there's more gameplay experience in general, but also you can pick what resonates with you the most. I personally prefer the medieval the most. I find that the other ones get a little bit more interesting. I also find, and we'll get into terms of things what you can see others not liking, but there are some aspects of the game that can be seedy in terms of their secret of what's going on. I personally prefer the medieval the most. Killing a tax collector seems like a better secret than some of the other things you can have in this game. And so overall, there's preset conversations that drive the experience. There's a good degree of actual gameplay mechanics of trying to lean into that. How do I give you a hint without being too obvious? So there's mechanics, there's gameplay, there's role playing, there's all of that mixed together in a fairly solid party game that is just enjoyable to go through. But there are things I don't like that get in the way of the experience, which is, for the most part, this pad. I don't like this pad at all. I find that Dubious is a game that the principle of it works well, but writing down these long answers on a pad, trying to give all this stuff over here, I find it doesn't lend itself to the experience quite as much as I would like. I like the kind of what I just did with you, where I go through it just bit by bit and we kind of give our answers all at once, as opposed to having a whole homework sheet assignment to deal with as you go through it. I find that this is a good gameplay concept, that the pad and the execution of the pad really gets in the way of tracking answers and just writing a ton of stuff, and just really, it heavily gets in the way of how much I enjoy the game, because I like the concept of the game, but the execution, and the pad's essential because of the way things are. It's hard to hold. If you're playing a 4-player game, holding everyone's answers in your head all the time is hard, and you are doing it based on a set of answers as opposed to a single card at a time. So you have to have all the information. I understand why the pad exists, but it kind of takes away from the experience. I almost want this game and this structure to be reconstructed and done differently in a way that involves us being able to play without all the writing that's currently there. To the point that most of my plays have avoided the writing for the most part and just skipped it and gone kind of with whatever, we'll try to remember what people said. It adds more to the fun and less to the writing and homework aspects of the game. So I overall like the experience, and execution-wise, I understand why this pad is here, but it really takes this away. It really takes away from how enjoyable the game otherwise can be. I'll also say that the game doesn't work at lower player counts. Keep that in mind. 3 players is the minimum, and I think 3 players shouldn't be the minimum. I think 4 players should be the minimum. I find a 3-player game is just, okay, there's 2 people guessing my answers. It's too hard to really lock down. I think it works best as 4 to 6 players, and ideally 5 to 6, but I'd really call 4 the ideal minimum, and 3 is the, hey, do you want to get a sense of how this plays kind of version of the game. As far as I can see, others not liking role-playing and creativity. If you don't like that, this game might not be for you. This is a party game, but it's a party game that does lean into your role and what you are, and I find it thrives when you have people who are willing to be a little bit entertaining and creative with applying what they have in the game to, that theme of, yes, it's a jolly good day at work, and I headed in, and well, it was a bloody day at work, unfortunately, but the good news I always have my pastime to keep me entertained. It's very different from my day job, as it were, but it does keep me entertained in a whole different creative avenue. You can really lean into a sense of storytelling that enhances the gameplay, and if you're not willing to, I think the game is not quite as good. It's also easy to get stuck on some aspects of your personality compared to others. I've had games where people gave 4 to 5 answers will completely cater towards their secret or their occupation and not focus on the rest, and that can be very hard to actually get everything. Unless players are really leaning into things and really leaning into tying things together as much as possible, you may find yourself certain that they are a blacksmith, but having no clue at all that they like to sleep in a coffin because they never once brought it up, or if they did, they brought it up in the weirdest, most vague way possible, and so there is that. And then lastly, like I mentioned already, the theme can be a bit seedy at times. Some of the secrets are a little bit more adult in nature, or just a little bit, even if not necessarily adult, even just the fact that everyone's hiding these things and stuff. And so I wish they kind of done motivation as opposed to secret. I think that could have been a more entertaining way to do it, while also still having most of the same gameplay in play. It's not that, I guess the way I put it is, I don't mind when games lean into more different subjects, but I kind of wish there were more of a reason, and I feel this just was unnecessary. It's a party game. It could have been, completely fine without that. What they have doesn't enhance the gameplay, it just restricts who you might want to play the game with. As far as final thoughts on Dubious, I'm conflicted on this one because I really enjoy the actual premise of the game. The premise is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. I enjoyed, even just now on camera, just going through, getting a role and getting in a secret and having that conversation with you, that one-ended conversation. I enjoy that process. I have fun with it. I like doing that in this game. But I don't want to play it because of the pad. The pad genuinely takes away from the gameplay, so I find this is a fun, creative exercise, but one in which the gameplay requirements get in the way of the experience. As it stands in the way that it is, for me, it's a 3 out of 5. I like the game, I've had fun with it, but this makes me less interested in playing it. If they could tweak this game that it has the same gameplay elements, but in a way where it's much more party game focused and less focused on, again, the amount that goes into the actual gameplay writing over here, then I think I would drastically prefer it. As it stands, I really like some elements of it, and I am very happy that it exists because it's a creative take on party gaming and role-playing and all that, but ultimately the end result is a 3 out of 5, a good experience, but one that has some blockages in the way. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, Dixit. Dixit is going to have some general similarities here as far as the hinting and talking but not being too obvious, and I think that's a very similar gameplay arc while being a very different game with that mechanic. And then similarly, Deception Murder in Hong Kong, if you're looking for that sense of discovery and figuring out what's going on, Deception Murder in Hong Kong is another easy to dive into game in a similar genre. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.